This must be the place. Professor Oubier's house.
Looks pretty creepy. I'd been away from Paris and hadn't seen Nico for nearly 6 months. I wanted to celebrate our reunion, but she had other plans. An appointment with an archaeologist. Something to do with a Mayan stone she came across while researching the story. The guy who answered the door didn't look much like an archaeologist to me. I had a bad feeling about this. I glanced over the books, vaguely hoping to find a copy of How to Deal with Poisonous Spiders While Tied to a Chair. No such luck. But I noticed one corner of the bookcase was supported by a loose block of wood. Oubier's book collection was exclusively devoted to South and Central American studies. Maybe I'd been a little heavy-handed, but it was a question of survival. Of course, I was still tied to a chair in a burning house with no means of escape. The bookcase had been anchored to the wall by a protruding metal bracket. It had sheared off as the bookcase had fallen, leaving a jagged edge. With one mighty bound, our hero was free. Now, I had to deal with that fire. Oubier and his wife, I guess. Nice couple. It was an oddly designed candle holder with a coil of metal shaped like a snake. Highly artistic, but of very little practical use. Inside, I found a bottle of tequila. Normally, I didn't drink strong spirits, but today was far from normal. Ew. Disgusting. Not only did the tequila burn like hell, I just managed to stop myself from swallowing the worm. There was something short, fleshy, and gross on the carpet. It was the worm from the bottle of tequila. In the drawer was a small decorated pot. It was a stylish little canvas number containing a lipstick, a handwritten note, and a pair of nylon panties with a large love heart emblazoned across the front. It occurred to me that Nico's tastes must have really changed while I was away. Well, they could be useful. That dart was sharper than a mosquito's business end, but this didn't deter me from getting it anyway. I wasn't going to touch the box after that spider had been inside it. The cabinet was locked. As I released the lock, something blew the doors open. There was no pressure in the siphon. I guess it was out of gas. That cylinder was hot. I couldn't pick it up with my bare hands. The panties I'd found in Nico's bag were just what I needed to wrap around the hot cylinder. The cylinder gave out a faint hiss as the valve opened. What? Now I had one primed up and ready to use extinguisher. With a well-aimed squirt of his soda fountain, our unshakable hero saved the day. Now it was time to start looking for Nico. I wasn't going to burn myself on that red-hot doorknob, and it wasn't the time for subtlety. It was a folded clipping taken from a newspaper. I'd found a piece of newspaper folded in two. It referred to a forthcoming eclipse of the sun. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be visible from Europe. The best place to view the eclipse would be Mexico. It was the newspaper clipping referring to the imminent eclipse. Wrapped inside it was another small piece of paper. It was a bank statement for Oubier's account from an automatic telling machine. The last 5 withdrawals were for large amounts, and all made in Marseille. The pot contained a key. It looked like a house key. I guess I had no business reading the note, but I figured it might give me a clue to what Nico was involved in. It was from André Labanau, the history student Nico had known at college. The letter was sentimental mush, and revealed that the exotic lingerie, as he called it, was a gift from him. It gave his telephone number. Labanau figured himself as a rival for Nico's affections, but I couldn't believe that that creep was in the running. Much as I disliked him, Labanau might be my only hope of finding Nico. Hi, Andre.
Who is this?
It's George Stobar, Nico's boyfriend.
Don't you mean ex-boyfriend?
Look, I didn't call you just to pick a fight. I need to talk to you.
Can't you accept he's just not interested in you?
Listen, Andre, we need to talk. Nico's life depends on it.
Okay. You remember the cafe at Montfaucon?
Sure. Andre? You'd better show, you creep. I felt an irrational urge to wipe my ear. I unlocked the door. I wasn't looking forward to meeting Labanau again, but he was my only link with Nico. There was no sign of Labanau when I got to the cafe. I decided to order a coffee and wait for him. The man at the next table looked somehow familiar. I snuck another look at the guy at the other table, but I still couldn't place his face. Pardon me, but don't I know you?
Huh?
You were here the day I found the catacombs.
I was? Ah, yes. I remember you.
Yeah. Are you still in the police force?
No, not anymore. I'm a man of leisure. And what brings you back to Paris?
My girlfriend.
What it is to be young and in love. Can you share a bottle of wine with me?
Hey, listen, I'd love to, but I need to keep a clear head.
So my company isn't good enough for you.
Tell me what you make of this note.
From my years of experience, I gained a pretty good insight into handwriting. I'd say that note was written by a compulsive, obsessive type with an Oedipus complex.
Hey, you got just about everything apart from the ponytail. What do you make of this news cutting?
Orphanage supplies fast food chain?
No, it's the article above that.
Oh! Total eclipse of the sun. Oh, that's very dull in comparison. I don't know anything about eclipses.
What do you make of this dart?
I remember a case where the victim was killed with just such a device. The poison acted in seconds, causing his body to swell up like an inflatable life raft.
Have you ever heard of a Professor Oubier?
No, monsieur. I don't recall the name.
Well, apparently he's an expert on Mayan art and history.
A little out of my field of experience, monsieur. If he'd been a serial killer or a sodomite, I might have been able to help.
It was a small silver flask from which the man was topping up his glass. It was a small silver flask from which the man was topping up his glass. The ex-gendarme showed no effects from the wine he was pouring down his throat. What's that you're drinking?
It's wine.
Why did you leave the police?
I was forced to retire. The golden handshake. Only in my case, it was more copper than gold.
How come?
I was made a scapegoat to cover up the department's inefficiencies.
It was too hot to sit inside the cafe. Besides, I might miss Labino. Oh, garçon. He ignored me. I'm sure it was deliberate. Hey, you.
Quoi?
I'd like a cup of coffee if you don't mind.
When I finish serving this gentleman. Un café.
Thanks. What does that guy keep pouring out of his flask?
Absinthe.
Absinthe? I thought that was highly dangerous and outlawed in France.
It is. Don't look at me, I didn't sell it to him.
Do you know a guy called André Labino?
Oui, I know him. What of it?
Well, I'm supposed to meet him here. Did I miss him?
No, I have not seen him today.
Have you heard of Professor Oubier?
Oui. He married that actress, the little dachshund. They used to come here. The nutty professor and the movie star.
If Oubier's wife was a movie star, how come I never heard of her?
She was big in France. The world doesn't stop at Hollywood. Her stage name was Carol Climax. She died in suspicious circumstances.
How did Oubier's wife die?
I heard he shot her.
And got away with it?
He had a good lawyer and a watertight alibi.
Why would an eminent public figure like Oubier risk everything for murder?
He wouldn't be the first, would he? Besides, people like him always get off.
Do you know that man over there?
I should think so. He's a regular customer.
Look at this. A poison dart.
Ah oui, sure.
It's the real thing. Knocked my girlfriend out cold in a matter of seconds.
Romantic. Sounds like a real close relationship you have going.
That's all.
Thank you.
Well, this is a surprise, Georgie.
I wouldn't normally call you. But Nico's in trouble, Andre. Deep trouble. You have to help me find her.
What? What have you dragged her into this time?
It was you that recommended Professor Oubier as an expert on Mayan art. Now his butler has kidnapped her, and he tried to kill me.
Every time she gets involved with you, there is trouble. Walking out on her was the best thing you could do.
My father was dying, damn it. I had no choice.
Well, she soon recovered once she went back to her old friends.
Drop it, Andre. Right now, Nico's in danger, and we have to work together.
So, how can I help?
Nico needed to speak to Oubier about a stone.
Oh, you mean this stone?
So that's what all the trouble's about.
Precisely. Nicole told me to guard it with my life.
Well, it's worth more than that, surely.
Oh, very funny.
What's funny is that your life really is on the line.
What are you talking about?
The stone is a Mayan artifact, dummy, and the guy who kidnapped Nico was from Central America. It was the stone they were after.
Oh my God, you mean I could be in danger too?
What do you suppose the carving on the stone means?
I don't know. I haven't shown it to anyone.
Why don't you just give it to me?
I don't want your death on my conscience, George.
Where did Nico get the stone?
It was sent to her.
From where? Who?
I'm not sure I should tell you.
Oh, you should.
It was something to do with smuggling.
What can you tell me about this pot?
South or Central American, I'd say. I have a friend who'd be able to tell you more.
Where can I find this guy?
He owns a gallery on the left bank, the Gliese Gallery.
Take a look at this, Andre.
It's a bank statement?
Yeah, Professor Oubier's account. 5 large cash withdrawals in the space of 3 days, all from an automatic teller in Marseille. Suspicious, isn't it?
You're even more crazy than you were before.
What do you think this is, Andre?
I don't know.
I'll give you a clue. It's got more backbone than you.
You think you're amusing, don't you?
Does Oubier employ a guy from Central America?
Maybe. I don't know.
You never been to his house? I thought you guys were pals.
Fellow academics, Georgie. It's not quite the same thing.
Why didn't Nico take the stone to Oubier?
I don't know. Perhaps she suspected something like this would happen.
If she's been hurt, Andre, I'll break every bone in your body.
No, that's typical of you. Do you think I don't care what happens to Nicole?
It occurred to me that slugs don't have bones to break, but I kept that thought to myself. Tell me about your friend Oubier.
He's more of a professional acquaintance than a friend.
I see. So you don't really know him at all?
No, I don't.
See you later.
Goodbye, Georgie.
enough of your games, Kala. Tell me what you've done with my stone.
I thought your business was simply smuggling cocaine, Karzak. Why are you so interested in that stuff?
Either you tell me what I want to know, or Pablo here will make you talk.
Okay. Well, I figured someone at the university would be able to help. So I had a word with one of my girlfriends, and she told me her boyfriend was a lecturer. I sent the stone to the Department of Ethnology. You know, I figured it was South American, so... You're not buying this, are you?
That's enough! I don't have time to listen to your mindless prattle. We'll leave you to think it over. Come the morning, you'll be ready to talk.
Do you miss being a gendarme?
Yes, of course I do. When I wore that uniform, I commanded respect. Not anymore.
I grabbed the flask and was struck by a powerful smell of absinthe, a highly potent and illegal alcoholic drink. Now I had another lead. I could either go back to Ubier's house or visit the Gliese Gallery. The Gliese Gallery had style and class, but very few customers. I couldn't believe it. The pots were marked at 5,000 francs each. As far as I could tell, the pots were almost identical to the one I'd found in Ubier's house. The wasteland. Too minimalistic for too much money. Hi, girls. What's the joke?
あなたはキレてですね。
Okay, fine. The wasteland. The wasteland. Rectangles in a desolate landscape. Highly cubist. He was a pear-shaped guy with a fine display of multiple chins. Pots, pots, and more pots, all hugely expensive. Spheres in a barren waste. Oh, very profound. I could see a pattern emerging in this artist's work. Pots, pots, and more pots, all hugely expensive.
Excuse me, sir.
Uh-huh.
That area is private.
Oh, so I'm not allowed back here?
No, sir.
Are you Mr. Gliese, the owner?
Yes, sir. May I help you?
You're English?
These days one prefers to think of oneself as European.
Sure. Whatever you say.
And how precisely may one assist you, sir?
I'd like your opinion on this pot.
Interesting. Would sir be interested in selling the article?
That depends. How much would you give me for it?
300? Possible 325.
What? Those other pots are priced at 5,000 francs each.
Yes, but this is clearly the work of an inferior, degenerated culture.
You mean it's English?
Look, why don't you get a second opinion?
From who?
Mr. Lane, the world-renowned art critic and collector.
He's an art critic? I thought there was a carnival in town. I found this news story referring to a total eclipse of the sun.
Really, sir? Well, fascinating.
I have some questions I'd like to ask about those pots.
The Mexican collection? Certainly, sir.
Where did you get them from?
Mexico, of course. I think sir will find the price extremely reasonable.
Hey, I'm not interested in buying them.
Oh, I see. Well, in that case, you'll excuse me.
Do you get many Central American Indians in here?
No, sir. This is Paris. Central America is several thousand kilometers southwest of here. Straight across the Atlantic Ocean and turn left. You can't miss it.
Well, as it happens, I saw some Central American Indians this very morning.
Tourists, sir. Paris is full of them at this time of year.
Have you heard of Professor Oubier?
Of course. His name is synonymous with Mayan art. A number of these artifacts were supplied by Oubier himself.
I suppose you have an import license for these relics?
Of course. But that's not my problem, sir. The professor arranges all the shipping. We simply collect the items from the docks.
Could you tell me which docks Professor Oubier uses to import the artifacts?
Good God, no. I can't possibly reveal my commercial secrets.
Do you believe the story that Oubier murdered his wife?
If it was true, who could blame him? She was an opportunist tramp. Well, that's what I heard.
Have you seen any of Oubier's wife's films?
Only one. Believe me, I was appalled, shocked, disgusted, and repulsed.
Well, you sure got your money's worth. Last time I went to the movies, I wasn't even titillated. What I really wanted to ask you about was a black stone.
A black stone?
Yeah, it's a Mayan artifact, about as big as my hand.
No, sir, one doesn't get much call for black stones. If it's Mayan artifacts you're interested in, I have some rather exquisite pots.
Yeah, I noticed. I've already got one of those. It was Lane, the art critic. You're Lane, the critic, aren't you?
Correct. Can't you see I'm busy?
Busy? Doing what?
Appreciating the art. Or depreciating it. I have a reputation to uphold.
I could tell this guy was going to be hard work. Would you give me your opinion on this pot, sir?
Yes. Very rapuche.
Rapuche?
Hideous.
What the hell do you think you're doing? You smashed my pot.
Certainly, it was not only worthless, it was ugly and offensive.
To you, maybe.
Believe me, I was doing you a favor.
What's the difference between my pot and all those other pots?
Yours is broken.
Why, you smug, pompous sloth.
Sticks and stones, dear boy, sticks and stones.
That pot you smashed belonged to Professor Oubier.
Did it really? I thought the man had more taste.
What's that you're drinking?
I'm not sure, but I have a suspicion it might be urine. Glees can't expect a favorable criticism of his gallery when he serves this muck.
I wasn't going to waste any more breath talking to that pompous villain. Maybe I could turn the situation to my advantage, and at the same time, get my revenge. That slob Lane just smashed my Mayan pot.
Yes, he can be rather impulsive.
Impulsive? The man's a hooligan. I bet if it was one of yours, you'd be more concerned. Lane doesn't think much of your choice of wine.
Blasted nerve. The priest who sold it to me said it was a good year.
I splashed a little absinthe into the glass and hoped he wouldn't notice the change of color.
Did you put something in my drink?
Yeah, I did. Well, what do you think?
Well, it's certainly an improvement over Glees's wine. In fact, I could grow to like it.
Allow me. Were those pots very valuable?
The pots are insured, but not the shelving. You've no idea how much that cost me.
There was nothing in the case but styrofoam packing. The paste on the side was the remains of a label. Underneath the logo of a flying bird were the words Condor Transglobal Mars. The rest of the label was missing. It was beginning to make sense. Oubier had organized Nico's abduction. Oubier withdrew money from Marseille. Oubier was connected with Transglobal, who shipped their goods from a warehouse in Marseille. That's how the torn Transglobal label had once read. Marseille, not Mars. It wasn't much of a lead, but it was all I had. I set off immediately to catch the evening train. It was almost dawn when I arrived in Marseille. I traced Condor Transglobal to a desolate dockside. Here, boy. It was a mean-looking guard dog. Hi, good morning.
Do you know what time it is?
No, I don't wear a watch. As my dad used to say, I'm not into time, man.
Well, you're too early.
What time is it anyhow?
The big hand's on the floor. Why aren't you in bed?
I can explain everything.
Never mind, I ain't that interested.
What time do you open the gates?
7.
Do you mind if I hang out here till the docks open?
Please yourself, but you'll have a long wait. It's Sunday, and tomorrow is the start of the national holiday. Everything is closed for a month.
Well, wouldn't you just know it? Does that dog belong to you?
Nah, he comes with the job. I just feed him every now and then.
More then than now, I'd say. What's the dog's name?
20.
It's unusual for a dog.
It's his registration number. Security dog number 20.
That animal doesn't seem too hot for a guard dog.
No? You haven't seen him in action.
Doesn't look like he has the energy to wag his tail.
Just like my wife. She's like a slug in a coma until she's annoyed. Then she's like a tiger with a rat up its ass.
Sweet. Ever heard of Condor Transglobal?
Sure. They have a warehouse here.
Well, could I take a look?
Not until after the holidays. Come back in a month.
I have to make a delivery to Condor Transglobal.
Where's your rig?
About half a mile down the road.
And you walked here? Jeez, are you some kind of nut?
Nah, it was easy. I just put one foot in front of the other. Are you gonna let me make my delivery?
Not without the paperwork. You get the papers, you make your delivery, and I get a fat backhander.
I was getting nowhere with the story about being a trucker. Do you know what kind of business Condor's involved in?
I'll pay you guard the gate. Their business is none of mine.
I'm looking for a young woman.
At the docks? What kind of woman do you have in mind?
You don't understand. It's my girlfriend I'm trying to find.
Well, I ain't seen her, and you should tell her the docks ain't no place for a young lady. They're dirty and they're dangerous.
I'm certain my girlfriend was brought here when she was abducted.
What? Your girl was kidnapped?
Yeah. Struck down by an Indian with a poisoned dart.
A poisoned dart, huh?
I could tell he didn't believe me. I have these very exotic panties.
Take them away, you pervert!
Have you ever heard of Professor Oublier?
Me? None of my friends are professors or anything like that.
What's cooking?
Beans. You know a man can live on nothing but beans.
Not this one. Don't you ever get tired of eating beans?
Sure I do. What do you take me for?
And what's the alternative?
Peas. I can't eat them too often, though. They play hell with my digestion.
Have you ever considered changing your diet?
What's wrong with beans and beer?
You need me to tell you? You're pumping out enough methane here to fill a dirigible. This is the dart that the Indians shot at my girlfriend.
Sheesh! That's pretty weird, but I don't see why you'd expect to find her here.
Take a look at this letter.
That's sick. Did you write it?
Oh, no. No, it's a letter from my girlfriend's admirer.
If I was you, I'd smack him in the mouth.
Well, that's not my style, but thanks for the advice. I gotta go now, but I'll be back.
Can't wait.
The bottle was just out of reach. Nothing was going to get me into that water if I could help it. My arms weren't long enough to reach the platform. The stick had a hook on one end. I figured it was a boat hook, for hooking boats. I just knew that boat hook would be useful for something. As for the bottle, even if I couldn't find a use for it, I'd cleaned up the dock a little. Ouch! That's hot. It was the beer bottle that slob of a watchman had dumped in the sea, now half full of filthy dock water. The label read, Surge, the beer that clears your head. The bottle was half filled with water. Maybe it would cool the cone down enough to touch it. Now I could see into the pipe which formed the chimney. The bottle had blocked the chimney, and the hut was filling up with smoke. The packet was full of dog biscuits. Baked beans in ketchup. Hey, 20. Come and get it, boy. I felt a slight twinge of conscience as I prepared to give the dog a dunking. It soon passed. As I'd expected, the dog could swim like a... well, like a dog. My arms weren't long. It read Pont de Nord, fine wine producers. I didn't recognize the label. It read Condor Transglobal. I'd come to the right place. Now all I had to do was get inside. The din must have drowned out the sound of my knocking. Maybe there was a way in up there. It was a powerful fan. I couldn't reach the blades of the fan, which was just as well. If I'd stuck my fingers in there, I'd never be able to play guitar again. It was the creep who'd kidnapped Nico, and I had a score to settle. I wouldn't have been hurt over the din of the fan. The guy was partly hidden behind a stack of crates. No. That did the trick. The fan clunked and shorted out as its blades were mashed by the boat.
Hey, you make any more noise, I break your arms.
That bully needed to be taught a lesson.
Garzak's already mad because we didn't get the stone. You give me any trouble, I'll tell him it was all your fault.
Karzak? That must be his boss.
Who is he?
Police, we want to talk to you about abduction, arson, and attempted murder.
Got a warrant?
Sure I got a warrant. Open the door, I'll show you.
You wait.
That's got him scared and angry. Among the paperwork which adorned the notice board was something which caught my eye. It was a delivery note from Condor Transglobal, and the address was Coromante City. It was locked. The only interesting thing I found was a small brass key.
Whoa! Don't shoot!
The little guy had a blowpipe. That confirmed my suspicions about what had happened to Nico. I waited for him to shoot me, but it didn't happen. Instead, he seemed to want to tell me something. What? What do you want? He seemed excited, almost desperate. What did he want so bad? Hi. I'm not going to hurt you.
Coramonte!
Is that where you're from? Coromante City?
Coramonte! Coramonte!
Okay. What have you done with my girlfriend?
Huh?
I am not leaving without her. Where is she? He didn't appear to understand me. Tell me what you've done with Nico, and I'll share these biscuits with you. I knew it sounded lame, trying to bargain with a box of doggy snacks. Besides, how was he to know how yummy they tasted? Do you know what this is?
Peito. Lotseka peito. Inyakot lagoino mutu.
This was the dart you used to knock out my girlfriend. If she's come to any harm, I will count you personally responsible.
Lotseka peito fnor.
What does this key unlock?
Huh?
Hey, you're manacled. Who did this? That big thug? I'm gonna set you free, okay? Hey, come back here! The little guy had gone to ground amongst the stack of crates. Just in time. Interrupting the beam of light kept the doors from closing and stopped anyone from using the elevator. But what now? There. That would keep the doors from closing. There wasn't enough room to move the handle. I was wrestling with the small crate when I noticed the label on its side. Danger. Live contents do not drop. A sturdy beam was jammed across the doors. These doors were not going to open. I noticed a faint mark on the wooden floor. there was an arc-shaped scratch on the floor, as if a door had been opened in the nearby wall. My fingers traced the outline of a secret door in the wall. Then I found a small round stud, which was set flush to the surrounding wooden paneling. Just as I hoped, a secret room. Nico! There. How you feeling?
Oh, thanks, Georges. How on earth did you find me?
I knew Oubier had been in Marseille. But never mind about me. How about you tell me exactly what's going on, starting with that Mayan stone?
I picked it up from one of Carzak's men in Paris. I was expecting a consignment of narcotics.
Drugs?
Yes. The proof I needed to expose Carzak's smuggling operation. I'd set it up to act as his courier, and once I had the proof, I planned to go straight to Inspector Mou. But instead of the dope I'd expected, they sent me that stone instead. And to find out more, I called Professor Oubier, who invited me to his mansion. At least, I thought it was Oubier.
I don't get it. If Carzak's business is drugs, why is he so desperate to get his hands on that stone?
Maybe it has some significance to the local people in Central America. It could be Carzak's means of getting them to work for him. Anyway, we've got to get out of here.
Nico, wait! I decided to keep the masking tape. It was bound to be of some use to me. We can't use the elevator. If that thug Pablo's recovered, he'll be waiting for us.
We've got to do something. Where does that girl lead to?
I'm not sure. Hopefully, the tape would prevent those doors from closing and stop the Indian from being able to call the elevator. The rope wasn't long enough to reach the pulley. The pallet rose about 6 inches off the floor, and I said a silent prayer to whoever had discovered the power of hydraulics.
What on earth are you doing?
Trying to raise the statue so I can hook it to that pulley.
Is that really going to help us?
I like to keep myself occupied in times of stress. Okay, tell me what you know about Condor.
Condor Transglobal exports Aztec and Mayan relics from Central America to Europe. But that's just a cover for the real business. Drug smuggling.
What proof do you have?
Nothing yet.
Do you know where Condor is based?
In Central America. A place called Coramonte.
I saw that name on a docket downstairs. Look, the little guy downstairs was chained up with these.
That must have been Pablo's doing. I don't blame him, though. That little guy is dangerous.
You're still sore about that poison dart?
Of course I'm sore.
Do you recognize this?
Is that the dart which knocked me out?
That's right. I kept it as a souvenir. I found these in your bag.
Oh, they were a gift.
I know. I read the note.
God knows what was going through Andre's mind.
I think that's quite plain enough. Have you any idea who this little statue is supposed to be?
I'm not very well acquainted with Mayan deities, Georges. But whatever his name, he sure is ugly.
Did that Indian guy mistreat you?
If you forget about the abduction, verbal threats, and bondage, no.
Well, what about the little guy?
I don't think he knows where he is or what he's doing here. The big guy, Pablo, he brought Titipoco from the jungle.
Titty what?
Titipoco. That's what I heard Pablo call the dwarf.
Did I hear you refer to Inspector Moon?
Yes, you remember him?
Well, of course I do. But I thought he was dead.
Oh no, he reappeared after the broken sword case had blown over. When he found out who was in with the Neo-Templars, he went into hiding. Moon knew more than was good for him.
Does he know about our involvement with the case?
If he does, he's not telling. Still, he got a sudden promotion.
Did you know Ubier's wife was a film star?
No, I didn't know he was married. What happened to her?
She died. In mysterious circumstances, apparently.
How mysterious?
I heard she was murdered. Possibly by Ubier himself.
A murderer, huh? André said he was something of a celebrity.
Tell me about this Karzak guy.
Well, I saw him for only a few minutes, but he frightened me. I got the impression that Pablo was nervous when he was around too. His eyes, they're like a wild animal's, like a tiger. That's what scared me most about him. He looked so unpredictable and dangerous.
It was too heavy for me to move on my own. Could you give me a hand to push this statue?
What for?
This, my dear, is our passport to freedom.
If you say so, dear.
Push! Great teamwork.
Nice to be working with you again, Mr. Stobart.
I thought about hanging from the cable with my bare hands, but it was too far to the other end of the cable to escape that way. Nico, I have a